What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday as this NFL coaching carousel continues. The John Harbaugh updates continue as well to develop as we get deeper into this week, the second week of NFL head coaching searches across the league. And we're still not to the point to where coaches who are currently employed can do in-person interviews. But when a lot of coaches get fired, a lot of coaches can interview now. And fast and now. And then you have Mike Tomlin fired or doesn't want to do this anymore. So it seems like a step down, stepped away, his decision. The Steelers wanted to keep him, but Mike Tomlin also throws a curveball into this mix. So there's a lot of different directions we could take this show, and we're going to have you guys help us on that. JT has an opinion about this Steelers job opening. How does that impact the Titans? Now this John Harbaugh sweepstakes is drawing a lot of different one-liners, like inside track, right? Like top threes. What was it yesterday that we did? There was another quoted term for yesterday's show that had something like that. Now there's a golf analogy out there on Twitter. So there's all types of things.
Titans are making the cut. They're moving on today.
Yes, make the cut.
However,
inside track.
I don't even know.
You know, they birdied the 11th hole in this, which I don't know what the hell that means. We'll discuss that. But there's a lot to get to here. We'll continue our pros and cons conversations with about Titans candidates as we started that yesterday with Matt Nagy based on the ESPN prediction. But now, as I guess Easton was right, because Dan Graziano's ESPN prediction is now outdated because Mike Tomlin threw his hat in the ring of not coaching anymore, and the Steelers' job is open. So, JT, what's up? Let's get this thing off and rolling here on this Wednesday. Tell the people what they got to do.
Yeah, good morning, Austin. Good morning, A to Z crew. Good to see all of you guys, especially Diane, Scott, Steven, two Scotts. In the chat, Corey, it's good to see all of you guys in here this morning. Josh, excited to get into today's conversation because, like you said, Mike Tomlin throws a curveball into the mix here and now takes the head coach openings up to a quarter of the league. 8 openings. This is certainly an unprecedented time in the NFL. It's absolutely crazy. The fact that the best and worst coach in the AFC North is Zach Taylor is hilariously comical. I cannot believe this is the timeline that we are in. That if you told me that at the beginning of the season, the only head coach that survives is Zach Taylor, I would assume that the Bengals would have won the Super Bowl and the other 3 teams would have gone like 3-14 or something like that. But no, this is how I guess we are moving on. This is the timeline that we are in. And it is super exciting because there is nothing, there's no shortage of things to talk about right now. And I'm excited to do it with you and everybody else in the chat. But before we get started, we need your guys' help. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you watching over there. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Does all the things for us, helps us out, get this show onto other Titans fans' feeds through the algorithm and things that we just cannot understand. Nobody understands, but it does help us out. So hit that like button, lock in, like the show. If you're watching on Facebook as well, we appreciate you over there as well. Hit that like button, lock in, like the show, like the page, and hit that share button in the bottom right corner. Send this show to a Titans fan or friend who wants to talk some Mike Tomlin, some John Harbaugh. What are we at right now, Austin? We are at
not enough.
Just under 50% like to viewership ratio on Facebook. You guys keep asking me why I have a small vendetta against the Facebook chat. And that's something that you guys asked me, and I'm not going to confirm nor deny that I do or do not have that. But all I'm going to say is that the like ratio may or may not cater to that.
The YouTube ratio is even worse right now. So, and unfortunately, we have to go off of our back end platform to find the YouTube likes. Facebook does give us that information, as David says.
That's not.
I always like and share. Well, David,
David.
we need Davids in our
I
lives.
like his profile picture. It's a kid flipping off the camera. This is profile.
I didn't even catch that. All right, let's do this officially. Welcome to AtoZSports here live on a Wednesday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is JT Runke. We're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8:10 Central Time, powered by BTA Sports, making you a better sports better. And we got to make sure that you guys are liking the show. You guys are doing all those things for us. We also tweet out our segments. Links there for the YouTube feed on our Twitter account. Follow us at AtoZSports on Twitter X. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok for more Titans coverage because we have those go out daily. A lot of great stuff there. And you can also follow us on Google. And so whenever you guys are Googling Titans head coach update, head coach search update, NFL coaching carousel, and if you hit the AtoZSports follow button in that link that I just pasted in the chat, it'll have our content show up for you. Which is great. That helps us out, helps you out. Get your information as preferred sources are becoming more of a thing with Google. So shout out to our sponsors as well. They make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. Are local and online at bartondrury.com. Window Nation, take advantage of January's buy four, get four windows for free. Free estimate as well at windownation.com. I'm looking out my window at a rainy street in Nashville. It's also gloomy outside. I've got my curtains halfway closed, JT, because as you know, I love my new windows and they're big and they're open. They're spacey. And I feel like with my curtains open in a gloomy day and my studio lights in here, I feel like I'm on showcase for the whole street to look at. So I have my curtains slightly closed because my windows are too damn good. All right,
I actually enjoy the gloomy weather because that means I don't have to even concern myself with whether or not I'm going to get raptured that day and there's going to be a glare into the window. I welcome
fair.
It, so.
That's fair. That's fair. But
I also promised snow here in Nashville. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe that's a false promise, but we'll see.
This week?
That's what I was told.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's telling you things about the weather, but anyway. So
let's meteorologist on TikTok. So maybe that's a life lesson.
Hey, that's a you thing. So I feel like my comparison of John Harbaugh being the Lane Kiffin of this NFL coaching carousel is aging well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, again, every time I say that, I have to make sure I really, really hammer it in that John Harbaugh to Lane Kiffin is not a personality or human being comparison. It is what that person, what that coach is doing to the landscape as a whole across that sport. Lane Kiffin held up the college football head coach carousel for a month and that was during the season while regular season games were being played, while Ole Miss was getting set to go to the playoff. And all that nonsense that was happening between Ole Miss, LSU, or Florida. And now I said John Harbaugh is going to do the same thing. And at first I thought, hey, this is great. The Titans can have what's the catch me if you can line that I love so much is why the Yankees so good because everybody's staring at the pinstripes. Everybody's too worried about the pinstripes. I think John Harbaugh is the pinstripes. He's the shiny distraction here. And the Titans can go about their business and interview their 18 people and find a good coach while everybody's chasing down John Harbaugh. And that's happening, but the Titans are in the chase of John Harbaugh. So this was yesterday from Garofalo, NFL Network, as we wait for John Harbaugh to finalize his interviews. Sources say he likes what he sees in the Titans. Cam, $100 million in cap space, high draft picks, new stadium, Mike Bergonzi. So that was yesterday. And that was Monday for yesterday morning show. Then we get this trio of tweets, and there were more. We could have added Diana Rossini. We could have added more Ian O'Connor tweets. As that guy's tweeting updates like
could have made a PowerPoint.
Yeah, we really could have. We could have done a full-ass slideshow of this, but we didn't. We kept it to 3. So we'll start with Ian O'Connor on the left because I believe his was the first of the day of these 3. On-demand mid-second round update of the John Harbaugh Invitational that might need updating shortly. So now he's going full golf, and I don't know how long into the tweet you have to read this before you understand that he's talking about golf. The Giants are 6 under, Falcons 5 under, Titans 4 under, Dolphins 3 under, and the Browns a couple shots behind the Dolphins at 100. Notes, Matt Ryan is dangerous with a wedge in his hand. Watch out. Okay, now we're talking about golf. Miami arguing with rules official over having no quarterback in the bag. Sentimental hometown favorite Cleveland needs to rally to make the cut. And then, the Titans just birdied number 11. Tennessee to -5. So that's that. Then you have Gary Myers in New York. John Harbaugh update. By the end of the weekend, he plans to meet with the Giants, Falcons, and Titans. I'm told Harbaugh is encouraged that John Mara, who is battling cancer, plans to be in the office when he gets together with the Giants. Also kind of cool that Eli Manning reached out to Harbaugh to pitch his former team. Then Tom Pelissero, former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, continues to gather information on potential destinations. And expectation is he'll interview with the Giants, Titans, and Falcons by the end of this week. Other teams remain interested, but those three appear to have the inside track. JT, your thoughts on these four tweets, I guess, technically.
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, there is a really good sign for the Titans there that you are one of the first three. Obviously, I think John Harbaugh, I have no reason to believe that he is going to do, interviews like this is like a full sit down Zoom type thing or in person or what have you. Instead of we know that he talked to a lot of these teams over the past week on the phone. I mean, over the last 3 days,
conversations, all that.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff.
I mean, the Falcons even decided to pull a PR stunt and say we've completed an interview with John Harbaugh when it was just the phone call, basically, pumping that up. But to have the Titans be in the top three, I feel like this really does put them, it's not just speculation. This is the inside track. I do think that these are the three teams that John Harbaugh will most likely end up with, which I think you go back to how we were ranking some of these teams. Obviously, we had Baltimore as one of the top destinations, but then outside of that, I think the real conversation started that these three were in the 2 to 5 mix, like the next best destinations were 2 to 5, or this and maybe the Raiders and someone else thrown in there here or there. But Falcons, Giants, and Titans were definitely in that mix there. So I think this is where this race is coming down to. I think my gut feeling still tells me that Harbaugh does land in New York because of a lot of what they're doing, the hoops. You talk about what Myers said in his tweet, Eli Manning calling him up with a pitch, John Mara going out of his way after dealing with a lot of his health issues, kind of, I feel like it sends a sentiment to John Harbaugh that they are super serious about this and wanting him there. And I think it just goes to show that they are still undoubtedly the leader in the clubhouse. But this also gives the Titans the opportunity this weekend. This is their this is their shot to. You can really do your due diligence throughout the rest of the week, and then by the end of the week, put all your ducks in a row, and then you go to John Harbaugh, empty the bag, see what he says, and if not, you can just move on with the rest of your candidates here, because I think it's really playing with house money right now is how I would describe it, because the Titans are going about their head coaching hiring cycle in a great way with a wide net, a due process, and the Harbaugh experience is kind of just a plus on top of this, because once again, that is like the home run hire right there, the one where I still think that if he does get hired, we do need Easton to come on here live on camera and try to do a cartwheel, because that's what he keeps saying he would do if they hired John Harbaugh. That's the big game fish that they could pull out, but they're not going to put everything to the side to pursue that. So I think they're in a really good spot right now. It would be a pleasant surprise if Harbaugh does end up being the coach here, but I think that they are still going about their business in a really good way. And I ultimately do think that the Giants are still absolutely the odds-on favorite and most likely destination for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what most people expect, is the Giants to be the number one team in this. And I've got some comments that I've starred from you guys that I want to get to here in a moment. And I let's go ahead and do that, because I think there's a lot of different levels to this conversation on what does this mean, all of these type of things. And we'll do that. But first, JT, tell everybody about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute.
Yeah, the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics. Don't fumble your recovery, because whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. And that's why we here at A to Z trust the Bone and Joint Institute, which is just down the road off I-65 in Franklin. They have over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury, have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help your recovery, and can do everything under one roof for your convenience, whether that's the clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, and rehab. They've got it all. To schedule your appointment either at their main location in campus down in Franklin or one of their satellite locations, go to boneandjointtn.org.
BTA Sports is better for bettors. We're about to get to a phenomenal spot in the calendar. Some people say the divisional playoff weekend is their favorite playoff weekend. Some say it's wild card weekend. The wild card weekend had some great games. 5 out of the 6. Well, 4 out of the 6 were good.
It's the last time
two
that
stunk.
Yeah, it's the last time that you have a bunch of games, right? Because then after that, it's just 2. Like, I feel like
the last time you can put together a 4-leg parlay that's not a same game parlay, right? So I think that's, or 3-game parlay, 3-leg parlay. I love 3-leg parlays, and BTA Sports says 3-leg parlays is probably where you should cut it off. You don't want to get to the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 leggers like that. But BTA Sports will help you become a better sports bettor. They've done that with me with the NFL. Normally, the NFL is what I struggle with. I'm usually better at college, but I've actually been better at the NFL this season because I had BTA Sports, and I hope, fingers crossed, they're working on it, that they get college next year. They have Major League Baseball coming up, and you can get a BTA Sports 14-day free trial. We have 2 ways to do it, 2 codes, okay? The first code is if you want to spend $10 and get the BTA Sports subscription through the Super Bowl, then you just do code ATOZ14, 14-day free trial. Then you get a weekly subscription of $9.99. Great. If you want to go all in with BTA Sports, which is a great deal, you get the rest of the NFL season, you get all of Major League Baseball plus the entire NFL regular season next year for $79. ATOZ Sports, 14-day free trial, and then a 12-month subscription with $79 for ATOZ Sports right there. Better for bettors. The link is in that description. So a couple comments I wanted to get to here on this. And I saw you favored a comment too. I'll let you kind of get to that here once we get to the next Mike Tomlin topic of everything. So, Cap said, I appreciate the golf reference. Gives an idea of how close the race is, assuming Ian knows what he's talking about and not just in his feelings. And so that golf reference is, I'll show this here. The tweets on the left, as I hide Cap's comment real fast. The fact that Ian O'Connor is saying that they are, they've already turned in the second round of this John Harbaugh Invitational, and that he has the Giants up 1 stroke. And after the Titans birdie on 11 to get them to 5 under, they have now matched the Titans 1 shot back of the Giants, and the Dolphins and the Browns are a couple shots back of each other. Watch out. Matt Ryan's got some firepower there with the Falcons, and Cleveland's struggling. They got to rally, right? And where is Ian O'Connor based? New York, right? Where is Gary Myers based? You can easily tell by his handle, New York. And so Just Smash said, man, the New York media does well with propping up their team when they want something. LOL, tears them apart when the season starts. And shout out Just Smash. Congratulations on your parlay with the Texans money line. Shout out to that. I forgot to mention that yesterday. So with all of this is, I don't know where Ian O'Connor is getting all this. This is a very detailed and a creative way to do this update, but what does it actually mean? I have no idea what this means. How many rounds are there? Is this a 4 round? How do you know we're halfway?
Yeah, is number 11? Is this is it a full? Is the entire process in 18 holes, and we're at hole 11? What are we doing?
Did they start off in different holes? Did they tee off on the back 9 or the front 9? I have no idea what any of that means. It's fun as hell, and I hope he continues it and for some consistency. But I have no idea what it means. And Just Smash is correct. Did you hear this? You know who else called John Harbaugh about the Giants job?
Who?
Brian Daboll.
Did he really?
Yeah. Apparently, one of the tweets that we didn't show, Brian Daboll called John Harbaugh to talk about Jackson Dart. Brian Daboll just got fired from there. And so I guess, what's in it for Brian Daboll is he wants Jackson Dart to be as successful as possible because he wants, I believed in Jackson Dart on my resume, even after being fired by that team, because Jackson Dart could not stay out of the concussion protocol, blue tint. And I find that wild that, they're going like Eli Manning called him. Okay, great. Like every time Peyton Manning has endorsed a coach by for the Tennessee Volunteers or the Tennessee Titans, it usually sucks.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if Eli Manning has the same juju when it comes to the Giants or Ole Miss for that matter. But I agree with Just Smash. The New York media is really going out and they're handling this. I mean, the very entertaining way.
They're handling it how New York media handles this. I mean, as a diehard fan of the New York Mets, I am no stranger to this when it comes to the offseason. Yeah, they love to drum this up, and like as they should, because that is what the market is. And when you have it's always like this because it's not like the New York media is dealing with like, a B grade free agent or anything. They're always dealing with the cream of the crop because it's New York, and that's how it's going to be.
I was about to get to this too. MB said early in the show, "Oh, great, a new topic." Wait, we've already talked about this. Welcome to coaching searches, and welcome to a coaching search when there is a premier candidate that everybody else wants, and that is why. What do you think Ole Miss and LSU and Florida shows and media talked about for a month? Lane Kiffin every day. It is crazy here. And like Easton and I were talking yesterday, he's like, man, I guess I got to write another article about these new reports because it keeps happening. The Titans keep climbing. They keep getting positive response and positive reports about where they stand with John Harbaugh. And that's good. I did the reel yesterday on the social media about how I don't think John Harbaugh is just flat out using the Titans for leverage. Because clearly the Giants are pretty desperate because they're throwing Eli Manning and Brian Daboll at him to convince him about Jackson Dart. So, there's a lot. And then I saw
and some inside baseball. Every John Harbaugh reel we do versus non-John Harbaugh does twice the amount of views.
Oh, great for engagement. So. Look, this AtoZSports, Zach and I learned a lot about this landscape of what this company could be because of the circus that was the 2017 Butch Jones firing into Tennessee Vols head coach search process. That was a disaster. It was a circus, but we learned a lot about how to run a media company and how to create interest, create entertaining products, and do some sourcing and reporting from that month and a half alone. And then Andrew, to kind of pull it all together with Mannings and the Vols and the Titans and the Giants and the Ole Miss Rebels and everything. This smells like the Peyton Manning free agent tour all over again. The Titans are going to get shafted. And that was something that I kind of thought about too, is when is the last time the Titans have won this type of thing, right? Like the Titans, you don't know this or remember this. You didn't live this. You were living in other states. When Peyton Manning was coming off of his neck surgery, the Colts released him before he signed with Denver. The Tennessee Titans were big-time players in Peyton Manning. So much, and Mark Mariani has told this story, former Titans receiver, on 104.5 The Zone many times. It's a hell of a story. It's so juicy that he went on a super secret routes throwing mission and caught passes from Peyton Manning for the Titans to see how his arm looked after the neck surgery. And they went like somewhere between Nashville and Knoxville, I don't know, off of I-40 in the middle of nowhere where nobody else was going to find him to do this. And Mark said he felt like he was blindfolded in the back of the SUV because he didn't know where he was at either. And so it went, but the rumor is Bud Adams threw a blank check at him and Peyton Manning said no, rightfully so, because the Titans had no offensive line and he just had neck surgery. So he went to Denver and the Titans lost out on that. And so when's the last time the Titans, they've been in on Ndamukong Suh. There were like three straight.
I was going to say the one that I've covered would probably be the DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Which is not as it's small potatoes when it comes to
That's a good one,
Peyton
though.
Manning and John Harbaugh and things like that. But it's still, I mean, that is the last time the Titans.
And that was a two-horse race with the Titans and the Patriots.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
And Julio Jones was a trade because I saw Steve brought up Julio Jones. That was a trade, and they got Clowney, as Titan Out brings. Yes, they got Clowney. Donta Hightower was a great one from Ant Lifts that was back in the 2019 situation there. The Ndamukong Suh was like Mike Vrabel and Ndamukong Suh and John Robinson had dinner at the Southern downtown, and it was like, and that then then you get signing 1-year deals, and it was like 2 or 3 free agencies in a row. Darius brings up, is Borgonzi technically one? Nobody expected the Titans to get him. And I at some point, we've said that too. Like a year ago, we're saying, yeah, but Mike Borgonzi's not going to take this because it's not a real GM job, right? It's an assistant to Jad Brinker. It's a Dwight Schrute job. And then Mike Borgonzi took it. We're like, oh, damn, that's pretty sweet. And so, and now it is his actual job. There's the Tom Brady, as you guys are bringing up, the Tom Brady and did he tour NBA with his wife looking for kids right before they signed Tannehill right before COVID happened. So there's a lot of that stuff. Aaron Rodgers is building a house in Brentwood. That still happened, but yeah, it doesn't mean that he's coming here to play. So there's so many of those things, and the Titans usually don't win those. So John Harbaugh is a fascinating one, but they just won the Mike Borgonzi one. That's a good thought, Darius. So here you go. I don't know.
To bring it full circle here, like, yeah, these are the things that are happening because this is the big fish. This is the one that if it does happen, guess what? We're still going to be talking about it for days and weeks and months afterwards. So, and like, also, this is also fair. Like, I think this was kind of to my point where if there were more suitors, I think we would know them by now, but it is the fact that we're getting down to it where we went from all of these meetings where he had calls with Arizona, had calls with Miami, had calls with Cleveland, and now we're moving to real interviews with a consensus top 3, it sounds like, from a lot of league insiders and sources. I think this is really where you get to probably the end of next week, and you're saying John Harbaugh is making his decision.
Yeah, and
so if you're tired of the John Harbaugh sweepstakes, just hold on. I would say
tight.
You got until like the 21st of January,
and I'll just say this: embrace it. Like sure, I think I love coaching searches because they're twists and turns and they're fun. Like and you have
Mike Tomlin.
Have fun, embrace it because the goal is. You're not doing this again for a while. That's the goal. Now, yes. That's been the reality here in a bit. All right. So I did see a comment that I want to mention here. Jason says, if Harbaugh is the number 1 head coach candidate, then who's number 2? I think that's a hell of a comment and a question. And if you would have asked me the couple weeks after Brian Callahan was fired, John Harbaugh was not on the radar to lose his job. No. Mike Tomlin was a little bit on the radar. I actually talked to somebody who knows Mike Tomlin very well and said, I actually had one person reach out to me saying the Titans should trade for Mike Tomlin in the offseason after Callahan was fired. I took that to somebody that would actually know something about it. And they said, this is like mid-October. They're like, yeah, there's something there could be the end of Mike Tomlin at the end of the season. And what do you know? Mike Tomlin tells his team that he's stepping away. Now, what does that mean? How does that impact the Titans search? Let's go ahead and ask that question, JT, in the chat here. How does Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach impact the Titans search? And that's a very open-ended question. You guys can answer it however you'd like. How does Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach impact the Titans search? As Jason said, if John Harbaugh is number 1, who's number 2? That's another fascinating thing that we'll talk through, and we'll continue to hit that up. But how does Mike Tomlin's news and decision impact the Titans search? We'll get to your answers here in a second. But Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. BartonDrury.com is their website. They are local, and they are here to help you. because they are here to help us, A to Z Sports, because I know that if I have a health coverage need, I can get Charles or Mike on the phone. I know if our workers' comp policy needs updating, I know I can quickly send an email to Brian or Adam and Adam, and one of them is going to get back to us. Haley is one of their great support staff members over there. She's super responsive with making sure that we get everything set up with our payroll, with health coverage, and all this stuff. Because Barton Drury Insurance Group, they care about their people, they care about the relationships, and if you need somebody to help you out with your insurance, it's a very intimidating thing to look at, right? How do you go through all the fine print, the big words, the 4-syllable words, all these things, and find out what's the right thing for me and how much am I paying? Am I overpaying? Is this the right coverage? Is this good coverage? Am I going to get screwed by something that I don't understand? Barton Drury will help you out through any of those fears that you may have with insurance, whether it is health coverage, home, auto, rental, umbrella policies, 401k planning. They got you covered there. So check them out online, bartondrury.com.
You also shout out our friends at BTA Sports. We are powered by BTA Sports, which is better for bettors. Use that code ATOZSports to download the app, get a 14-day free trial, and then just $79.99 for the entirety of the 2026 sports season, which will include MLB baseball, will include the 2026 regular season for the NFL, and then, like you said, hopefully some college football down the road, down the track, whatever you want to call it. BTA Sports, where insight meets instinct. I know someone was talking about they have no idea what to do with this Texans-Patriots game coming up. I just looked. BTA Sports has one team. I think the line is like 3 right now. BTA Sports currently projects one of those teams to win by double digits. What that is, I'll let you go figure that out. Play around with BTA Sports. Once again, you can just play around with it using ATOZ Sports. Get that 14-day free trial and mess around with it for the divisional round and the championship round. Once again, thank you to BTA Sports. We are powered by BTA Sports.
Man, it's one thing about coaching searches. It distracts us away from some really interesting playoff matchups that we have here coming up on 4 games that I'm like, man, I think Saturday's games are better than Sunday's games, but then you just say all of this, what BTA has about that Patriots-Texans game, and then you look at Rams-Bears, and that's going to be bonkers. It's guaranteed to be bonkers. Mm-hmm. Anything the Bears do, and especially in prime time, is going to be bonkers. And I can't wait for Saturday and Sunday. We only got, how about this? Only have 8 more football games.
Crazy.
That matter. If you count the Senior Bowl and the Pro Bowl, 10, okay? But I'm not. 8.
Well, the Pro Bowl isn't a game anymore, and the Senior Bowl.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
okay. Swap the Pro Bowl, put the Shrine Bowl in there if you want to. And there's 8 games left that matter of football. That's all we got.
Well,
that's all we got.
So just how many is that? Wait,
8.
4.
There's 8 more games that matter in football.
College football championship is in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
you were leaving that out. I was like, whoa.
No.
Okay.
That matters.
Okay.
Brian just says all the Bears fans are bonkers, but fair. All right. So we asked the question with Mike Tomlin stepping away, how does his decision to step down as head coach impact the Titans search? You know, I saw some people say Schefter saying that Tomlin doesn't expect to coach this season. And that's fine. I don't expect the Titans, as I said earlier, that, you know, I was talking to people in the month of October that Tomlin and the Steelers could be coming to their split at the end of the season. And if you want Mike Tomlin, you still have to trade for him because he is under contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole Sean Payton thing, right? He's still under contract. And so until that contract runs up or he, all that stuff, it's kind of wishy-washy there. So that's tough. So Tomlin is not an option necessarily, but the Steelers head coaching job is wide open. Yes. So lock in, like the show, hit that like button for us. Shout out King VC for that one. Hit that like button. Shout out King VC. What are you seeing from the chat? How does Tomlin's decision impact the Titan search?
Yeah, Edward says that he thinks Tomlin would be sweet if he was to end up the head coach of the Tennessee Titans some way, somehow. Team needs a strict, disciplined coach. D-Dread also says not at all. He believes Tomlin is taking a year off. This is where I am on this, as you touched on. I think Mike Tomlin is taking a year, maybe more, off of coaching. I mean, there has been talks about him potentially moving to the broadcasting side of things, the desk analyst side of things for football. Maybe the next step in his career, maybe he is done, maybe he's not. I don't know. But one thing's for sure, I don't see him coaching for the Titans, mostly because I just don't think he's going to coach this next year. And so
Mike
hopefully if you
Tomlin's-
get...
sorry to cut you off there. Mike Tomlin's a decade younger than John Harbaugh.
That is crazy.
He just completed his 19th season with the Steelers, and Harbaugh completed his 18th season. Harbaugh 62, Tomlin's 53. I think we kind of always forget, like, Tomlin was a young dude when he got that job, and he has crushed it. Again, no losing seasons, and that's part of the problem is that they haven't sucked during a time to reset, especially post Roethlisberger. You know, they had to draft Kenny Pickett in the 20s. That didn't work out. Now they're just going on the veteran quarterback route on 1-year deals that don't do anything. But man, Mike Tomlin.
So he most likely will be back, but for the Titans, you're hoping that this coaching cycle, you're going to find your coach for the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully, if you get this right. And so, like, I don't know if Tomlin certainly maybe his third stint, if he gets one, I guess, could be the thing. But, like, I think he's going to take at least a year off. And so from a team perspective for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ray School says it doesn't affect it. Jason says it does affect the Titan search because it adds another competitor, a good competitor. Just Smash says it doesn't affect it that much. A bad roster, an owner who doesn't spend, and a coach who can't be signed. So, I mean, a trade there. Ashley says it impacts us because it's another storied franchise needing a head coach, and clearly they have stability. Keelan says it probably takes Arthur off the board, so he believes that.
Here's something on this too.
Arthur
So I talked to that person when I said, excuse me, when I said in October, Arthur Smith wants the Steelers job after Mike Tomlin. And that was very much known, or the idea there. Now I followed up with that person yesterday, and it doesn't seem like Arthur Smith would be the person to fill in with Mike Tomlin, because as the season has developed, they need a reset. And that it would feel like Arthur Smith being elevated to head coach would feel like just like a continuation of the Tomlin era.
Yes.
In a way. And so I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. And Art is talking to the Titans today, ironically.
True. Austin Lammer says, feels like the Steelers job being open hurts the Titans. Just haven't figured out how yet. Just waiting for that shoe to drop as they request people.
You want to pause there? I think
because also AZ Lobster says it makes the Pittsburgh job more attractive than ours, pushing us down the list for other coaching candidates. If we want to talk about this and where they rank, I tweeted this out just kind of like an open conversation on like where I thought this job would land. And I came to the conclusion that I don't really know, because on one hand, me and Paul Kaharski were going back and forth about this. Paul Kaharski argues, I think, a very real thing where you have a job that is going to, based on precedent, guarantee you off the chart stability. It's going to give you that job security and patience. This is a team, but like that's because they've only had 3 coaches since the 70s.
That's what I was going to mention. Chuck Noll took over in 1969. Mike Tomlin is the 3rd Steelers coach since Chuck Noll took over in 1969. There have been twice as many popes since then. Yes. 6 popes, 3 Steelers head coaches. So, like, how
that's exactly. Can they continue that? I don't know, because
this was a side topic real fast, and it doesn't really need a discussion. It's more of like a let's just pause and kind of think of. I think we're seeing the end of an era.
Yes.
I think when Andy Reid hangs it up, we are done seeing the 15 plus year head coaching tenures. Because you're seeing Tomlin, Harbaugh end together. Belichick ended a couple years ago. Andy Reid's maybe got a couple years left. After that, you get Sean. Again, I don't want to go too deep into this, but like Sean McVay's 9 years into the Rams, and he already talked about being burnt out and going to TV, and they're having to pay him more money to not leave for TV already. And so, like, what's Sean McVay going to do when Matt Stafford officially hangs it up and he's like, this is a great time to split.
Exactly.
Like,
right?
but honestly,
I mean,
Kyle
also
Shanahan is 1 year under McVay.
Yeah, but Kyle Shanahan also, let's say they get to the Super Bowl again. I think that's a conversation that needs to have, and that's going to continue to happen. Like, that is going to continue to build the narrative that he just simply can't get it done, and he's never going to get it done. That would be 3 times now, technically 3.5 if you count the Atlanta Falcons offensive nuclear bomb he put in that second half against the Patriots all the way back in 2017. So, like, I agree with you, and that's why I kind of opened the show today saying we're in unprecedented times, because my pushback to that, right, is while they do have off the chart stability, they have job security, they have patience, it's a storied franchise that had a really well constructed roster that these coaches continue to inherit with their new coaches. As Mike Tomlin came in, you get Big Ben in there, you become a perennial contender. And going back before that and whatnot, you are now at a point with this Pittsburgh Steelers roster where you don't have that quarterback. You have an aging roster that you just paid a bunch of money to TJ Watt, who has continued to deal with injury issues. You have Cameron Hayward, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that roster is almost up there with the Washington Commanders of the world in terms of age. It is
they kind of went for it, right? Like, they kind of went for it.
They did. And so now you're kind of stuck with that, right? No quarterback, a relatively low first-round draft pick, not that much cap space. I mean, also, is there the while it is a job that has stability and security and patience, is there a notion that it is a job that has huge shoes to fill? And let's say that person just crumbles under the pressure of having to continue the storied franchise here. I think there's a back and forth there which makes it hard to say that this is going to be another coach that instantly comes in there and is there for a double-digit years.
So
I don't know if it's that attractive, right?
I think it's very. I landed on
attractive. I landed on the Titans are still ahead of the Steelers.
Well, here's where I come into play with this, because I think it is Mike Tomlin is not Nick Saban as far as success, right? Because Mike Tomlin does not have the multiple rings that Nick Saban has, but Mike Tomlin kind of fills the room with that aura and that demand like Nick Saban-ish, right? And so it's, do you want to be the person to follow the Nick Saban to where that standard is so intense and so high that Kalen DeBoer struggling with the switch over of the program's mentality from Nick Saban to DeBoer? What's like, I'm kind of sitting here going like, who is man enough to follow Mike Tomlin?
Yep.
And I don't know. And honestly, I'm looking at this list of Titans candidates. Man, Matt Nagy, no, hell no. I mean, Mike McCarthy, honestly, that's not a terrible fit. But there's like, you've got to be a strong MFer to have a backbone, not give a damn, thick skin, and wanting to go in there and feel like you could take it. like this is just not a job for anybody.
Right.
Because if you suck, you're the problem, because the Steelers have had 3 coaches in 50 plus years.
And so that's why, do you want to get to who I think is the best fit?
I do, because I have no idea. Like, I don't know.
I do.
And you said you had a fit in this morning's pre-show. And I'm like, I truly don't know who the front runner is for that job. John Harbaugh could do it, but
not gonna happen.
The musical chairs of fired AFC North head coaches is not like, that's just crazy, you know? And so,
and some people are saying, like Johnny says, the Steelers will pick someone fresh, like a Kubiak, a Shula, a Minter. Orlando says Shula. COVID Bat says Kevin Stefanski to the Steelers, wild username. But like I think there's a snowball's chance in hell that an former AFC North head coach from a rival goes to the Steelers.
When's the last time that a division has had 3 coaches moved on from in the same year? Has that ever happened? I mean, we've only had this set up with 4 teams in a division since 2002. But I mean, this is crazy. The fact that Zach Taylor is just like walking into the room being like, all right. And the only reason why he's still there is because the owner doesn't want to fire him and spend extra money.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but someone asked the Ravens had a press conference when this, like, the Ravens were having their press conference with their owner, and Tomlin got fired almost at the same time. And so someone asked, I forget who the owner of the Ravens is again. Forgive me for that one. Not up on my Baltimore Ravens knowledge, but he was asked basically like, would you consider Mike Tomlin as a head coach? And he said, only if Harbaugh is going to the Steelers. And even then, after what they did to us last week, I would never consider that. So like, there's no way that like these teams, because you talk about teams in the NFL who hate each other's guts. There's no division that hates each other's guts more than the AFC North. That is just the fact.
NFC North is right there.
It is because of this year, but I mean,
AFC and NFC North, decades, both Norths are nasty.
Yes, decades and decades of like
because
those legit hurt each other is what you get with the AFC North. So.
Both Norths are kind of like the old the OG NFL franchise. Correct. Okay, so there's been some people saying some names in the chat. I know the name that you said, because I asked you yes or no question pre-show, is your fit for Steelers head coach on the Titans interview request list, and you said no.
I said no.
I do think there's one, and the chat has brought up a couple others that think would be able to fill that Mike Tomlin void of just leadership, aura, strength, standard there. So do you want to go first? Or do you want to get to the chat's answers?
Yeah, I'll go with my answer because I just want to get it out there. You talk about somebody who wants to bring a standard, who doesn't give a damn, who would face the noise, is not on the Titans list. I think it's Brian Flores. I think Brian Flores, talk about someone who doesn't give a damn what they think about. Hell, he's going to court with the entire league. It does not care. Would instantly continue that dominant Steelers type of defense that they've come to know and love. I think he could build a heck of a staff there. And also I think he brings the right type of culture that could come after a guy like Mike Tomlin. He is really the one guy I could see them going after and being like, this is the kind of culture guy that if we wanted the best shot, because he also has the experience, what he's been able to do with the Vikings this year, and certainly from what they continue to say out of Minnesota, they are desperate to get him back because of how big of a deal he is, and obviously wrong choice because of the lawsuit. I mean, the Steelers are no stranger to creating precedented coaching things with the with the league, and so I think Brian Flores would be my pick. I think it's a really interesting one. Now, I don't think it's going to happen because, once again, the lawsuit, but and everything
Steelers,
else.
I don't think the Steelers are mentioned in that lawsuit. And
Fair
so Nando says Titans haven't even interviewed him because the Titans, because of Mike Mularkey kind of talking about the process of how he was hired, the Titans are somewhat involved, not directly, but like next level involved in the Rooney Rule Brian Flores lawsuit.
Correct.
So I don't, again, this is me just connecting dots. Is that why the Titans haven't requested to interview him? No clue, but that does make sense.
Yeah.
Of why the Titans haven't. Nick asking, why is the lawsuit taking so long? Because it's a lawsuit.
It's the legal system. Welcome to America.
And everybody that brings up John Gruden, same thing. Ain't going to happen because lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like John Gruden will not coach in the NFL again.
Yep. But I do think
Brian Flores is. I think you're right though. I think Brian Flores has the moxie.
It just makes narratively, it makes perfect sense for a guy out there. You look at the candidates out there and say, who's the guy that could be the best shot to actually give them this, like, keep the precedent and not make this turn into a huge rebuild? It's Brian Flores.
Yeah, I think Brian Flores is the right level of hard ass to replace Tomlin. So
also, John Gruden, I mean, he's also washed. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah,
for people who still want John Gruden, brother was just running walkthroughs in a ballroom at the Hula Bowl, which is about to be a draft bowl type situation, event that is going to be gone. Like, and the best they could do is John Gruden because he's with Barstool now. Like, he's not coaching again in the NFL.
Yeah,
sorry, he's done.
And he's like super overrated.
Yes,
as a coach. He hasn't had
that's my answer.
Like,
I don't know. I don't know what your answer was, but
there is an update on John Harbaugh. I'll get to that here in a second. But I thought there was a couple names in the chat that I saw from you guys that are on the Titans interview list that could be Steelers options that have that level of aura and standard and just, I don't even know how to describe it from Tomlin. It's just like energy, walk in the room, demanding that space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Robert Saleh is a great option for that because of just his presence. Presence, is that the word? Because of his presence. I think Chris Shula could make sense because of his name. Now, he's very young, but so is Mike Tomlin. And so I think Chris Shula could make sense. And then the other name was Jesse Minter. And I see that because he's been in big programs. He's been with Michigan. He's followed Jim Harbaugh. He's a up and climbing name too. And I think he's got some of that hard ass in him as well. So I think those are the three names that are on the Titans list that I think could be solid fits to replace Tomlin. Saleh, Shula, and Minter.
Yeah, if I had a second one and you said pick someone from the Titans list that this could affect, I think it would be Saleh. So, like, that's my point, right? When it comes to how does this affect the Titans head coaching search, I don't think it really does because at the end of the day, they're not going to get there. Okay, so like,
if you're Robert Saleh,
they're not. Okay, so like it affects them for Saleh, but it's not going to affect them for Harbaugh. It's not going to affect them for Stefanski.
Sure.
I think like it would be Saleh.
The other two North guys, the AFC North guys, are not going to. Yeah, absolutely. And Orlando says Mike McCarthy, a sneaky underdog for the Steelers job. I don't hate that, actually. I think that I'll add him to the list. Orlando, good call. 4 on the Titans list.
That is such a non-needle mover for me for the Titans. Like, have McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, have McCarthy. I think
Saleh and Shula.
Saleh's the big one, and Shula. Yeah. Yep, because those are. I will say that's fair. But like if Saleh and Shula end up there, like one of those ends up there and one ends up with someone else, and that gets you a consolation prize of a Harbaugh or Stefanski or something like that. I'm not taking that, but like Saleh, I think that is fair because if you had to ask me behind Harbaugh, who are still my top two to be the Titans head coach, it is Saleh and Shula. So,
all right, we have a John Harbaugh update, and then we'll talk about more Robert Saleh, the pros and cons of Robert Saleh for the Titans head coaching job. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about my great windows. Talked about them earlier this morning. I got the curtains closed a little bit because my Window Nation windows are putting me on spotlight. It's gloomy out there, so I don't want my whole street to look in there and see me just acting a fool doing the show this morning. But Window Nation, it's been almost 2 months since we've had our windows installed right before Thanksgiving, and they have been awesome. They've truly improved our house. There's more light, more natural light coming in. We get to save money on our energy bills because they keep the temperature inside what we want it to be and keep the outside temperature outside of the house. And they're a massive upgrade over the builder grade metal windows that we had when we bought the house a couple years ago. We kind of always had new windows for aesthetics and performance on the long-term list. When Window Nation came around, we had a great deal in September. Buy 2, get 2 free. Now it's buy 4, get 4 free. You can save thousands and thousands of dollars, and you can get 0% financing for up to 2 years, depending on your situation, your credit. But there's so many different ways to do their financing. You can have payments not start for X amount of months, X amount of years, 0% financing, have those payments be nothing. We haven't paid a dime yet and still have plenty of runway before we even have to start doing that. And the monthly payment for us is like not a big deal at all. I have many monthly bills that are more than that. So for our windows, so check them out online at windownation.com for a free estimate.
Yeah, also shout out, we're powered by AtoZSports. Once again, use that link in the show description or right below the title on Facebook. Get that 14-day free trial with the code AtoZSports. Going to get you the rest of the way through the NFL playoffs, and then $79.99 after that for the entire year, which is MLB, the entirety of the 2026 NFL season and college football.
All right. So we have a John Harbaugh update. Kindle says right there, think about it. Football is the only reason the Titans are rising as for the John Harbaugh search, not because of name, history, etc. John is looking at Cam, Mike Borgonzi, and the rookies. That's good for the fans. I do think that's good. So that's a positive thing. But we do have an update about the John Harbaugh situation. Adam Schefter put out 8 minutes ago. Here is this, and as it loads again, former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh is meeting today with the New York Giants in what is his first in-person visit to another team's training facility. Per Jordan Ronan and me, Harbaugh is in their building. So that is that update from John Harbaugh. And then bark.
Pretty
JT.
Ricky. The GOAT.
And if you know Ricky, if you know, right? Ricky Scoops tweeted this same time, actually right before the Schefter update. So
he outscooped Schefter. How about that?
Ricky pre-Shefty. Harbaugh flew to New Jersey. Excuse me. Harbaugh flew to New Jersey to meet with the Giants and are hoping to keep him in the building until they agree to terms. Giants are his first choice. Joe Shane's role remains unclear, but it's not a roadblock. There should be an official announcement today or tomorrow.
Okay. Can we call timeout on that? Because people are now going crazy in the chat and think the sky is falling. Yes, this is known that he is the number one choice. Harbaugh's number one choice is the Giants. I don't think that part of it is true. And if you follow the actual NFL, if you go to NFL.com and look at their coaching tracker, their GM tracker, look at who every team has interviewed with, completed interviews, so-and-so, and whatnot. The Giants still have not completed or done their obligation with the Rooney rule. Yeah. They have not satisfied the Rooney rule. So, which for me to believe that, like
nobody has.
No, actually, the Titans can after Mike McDaniel today. The Titans will be the first
because they have the two. Because those guys were
McDaniel.
They were in person because those guys are no longer employed.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So every other team has not satisfied the Rooney rule yet. And if you think that this is true, that they are going to get something done today, the best they could do is a handshake agreement, which then if you have a handshake agreement and then you're bringing in candidates to satisfy the Rooney rule,
wouldn't a lawsuit. That's the Brian Flores situation.
Wouldn't that become a lawsuit? Like,
yes.
This is why that's
what happened the last time the Giants hired a coach.
Yes.
Literally.
That's so my thinking on this is
Bill Belichick got the Bryans confused.
Correct. So I think you look at what he's saying and saying, like, what you can take from that is, yes, this is not new information that he is the number one candidate for the Giants, and the Giants seem to be his number one destination. I would not put any stock into unless the NFL is wrong in their tracker and the Giants have maybe just not announced that they've completed interviews with.
Lisa says the Giants did satisfy it, and if you're looking at the tracker, and Candyman says they have satisfied it. I don't know. I'm not keeping it up to date with that, but they have to before they do anything.
Yes. So
So
it'll be interesting to see, based on what the NFL says. They have not yet, but if they have, then maybe this does get done today. But
then the NFL needs to update their own stuff.
yes,
and
exactly.
So like Antonio Pierce got interviewed by the Giants, but that's not enough. It has to be an in person. It doesn't have to be two.
It has to be two, and it has to be in person.
Both have to be in person. So yes. Just Antonio Pierce does not count. For that sake. All right. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Robert Saleh. Yesterday we did pros and cons on Matt Nagy. So pros and cons for Robert Saleh as a Titans head coach candidate.
And apparently, they are interviewing Pierce and Morris, but the Morris in-person interview has not happened yet.
Okay, so just to update that timeline, Harbaugh cannot agree to terms today because
according to their own schedule, they have not interviewed with Raheem Morris today or yet.
But it's on this calendar. It's just not been done yet. Okay, fair enough. All right, hit that like button for us. Like the show here on this Wednesday. We still have trivia to get to, but hit that like button, like the show. So we're continuing our pros and cons series here on individual Titans candidates. We've done Matt Nagy. We're about to do Robert Saleh. So let's go ahead and look at the resume for Robert Saleh, who has been one of the names that we first have been discussing since Brian Callahan got fired. So going back to 2005, it's been a few years lower level, climbing the Houston Texans organization on the defensive side before getting an opportunity with the Seahawks, and then a full position coach for the first time in Jacksonville. Then after 3 years of doing that, getting a DC opportunity as Kyle Shanahan became the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Robert Saleh goes to San Francisco with him and is the DC for 4 seasons before getting a head coach job. Is the head coach there with the Jets for 3+ seasons and was fired mid-season during the 2024 campaign. Went to be a consultant on the offensive side of the ball with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay to finish out last season. And then this past year and currently going in the divisional round of the playoffs, the defensive coordinator back with Kyle Shanahan again in San Francisco. So pros and cons for Robert Saleh, JT, because it's pros and cons, not cons and pros. We start with the legal pad on the left side. Pros and cons. So pros. What is your first pro for Robert Saleh as a candidate for the Titans head coach job?
It's the culture he can bring. That is the biggest pro that I can possibly think of. You want a guy still, no matter who they get, the guy that comes in has to be a massive culture builder and someone who can raise the floor of the Titans locker room culture instantly. And I think Robert Saleh is one of those guys. You look at what he's done for that San Francisco defense, despite all of the injuries, to continue to play with that same aggressiveness, the same tenacity, the same type of defense that Robert Saleh wants to play with. Imagine if the Titans would have had something like that this season, that despite all their injuries, they still play the same way that they want to play all along. That's something that Robert Saleh can absolutely do. He's a guy that can come in and I think be a breath of fresh air, something that you obviously don't want to bring up any sore spots, but something that you really haven't had since Mike Vrabel. Bring that same type of, the relationship to a player to coach type of thing back to the locker room. Someone who can get the best out of players who maybe need a little spark like that instead of just a schemed up type of defense. When you talk about a culture that you can build that is predicated on playing a certain style of defense stylistically instead of schematically, I think Robert Saleh is one of the best candidates to come in here and raise that floor instantly.
I agree. That's definitely an obvious pro and the first pro that should be discussed. I think he is the closest thing to a Vrabel profile that the Titans have on their list of 18 coaches plus Jim Harbaugh that they're planning on talking to at this point. And I think what he did with the San Francisco 49ers defense this year with having their top players, top skill guys, and top leaders go down with significant injuries was kind of along the lines of what Vrabel was able to do, plugging and playing with guys off the practice squad, off the street, just playing above what their role should be, adapting, and then, as you said, squeezing the most out of whatever tube that they've got. So I think that's a very good one there too. So Robert Saleh, a CEO standard leader type guy. I think what I also think is a pro, and this is where I think he actually has an advantage on the Vrabel profile. Robert Saleh is a really good defensive coordinator in game. And that's important. And if you're going to have a head coach who's a defensive guy, I think you have to have a head coach who can have an in-game role as well. Like Mike Vrabel had one season as the Houston Texans defensive coordinator before becoming the Titans head coach, and they had the 32nd ranked defense. Now, there were some variables there with a bunch of injuries the Texans had, and they were not able to overcome that. But Mike Vrabel had the historic worst third down defense for the Titans in 2020 when they did not have a defensive coordinator by title, and he and Shane Bowen were both like half doing the job. And so Robert Saleh being able to be the defensive coordinator in game and being very good at that and adapting on the fly and having a good game plan and with whoever's out there, I think is a pro as well. So leadership and good in-game D coordinator are two pros for Saleh. Do you have another pro for Saleh?
Yeah, I have one more. I would say also something that he has on Vrabel is that I think he could build a heck of a staff. With the amount of connections that he has from his San Francisco roots. You talk about the possibility that if they were to hire Saleh, there's a real reason that obviously this could be a pro or a con, but being buddy-buddy with Mike McDaniel, certainly like he could probably bring in his buddies that are actually like good schematically at football.
Proven.
And like
Yes.
could be a positive instead of bringing in buddies who just continue to not get it done or have a lack of experience. I think you look at what Robert Saleh can do there from building up a staff. I think that is something he also has a huge leg up on from Mike Vrabel.
The Niners group is pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
The Shanahan tree is pretty tight. Mm-hmm. So Robert Saleh could pull from that offensively. So I agree with you. That's a pro. I think Mike McDaniel or beyond Mike McDaniel, I think Robert Saleh could hire a really solid offensive coordinator, play caller to pair him with his.
Here's one. If you don't, if you think, sorry, just because this has been a hot name also, you also look at if it isn't Mike McDaniel, let's say Mike McDaniel gets a job somewhere else and you go with Robert Saleh. I think another guy who could be one of those guys who becomes an offensive coordinator for 2 years and then moves on to a head coach job or something like that, who is from the Shanahan tree and is with the San Francisco 49ers right now. Clay Kubiak could be an interesting one, an interesting pull right there. Once again, these Kubiaks continue to pop up. They're just continuing to pop up.
How many kids did Gary have?
Exactly. But it would be a little tough just because he is the offensive coordinator right now underneath Kyle Shanahan. But like it's offensive coordinator going from an offensive coordinator who doesn't call plays to the offensive coordinator that does call plays. I would consider that a vertical leap instead of a horizontal one, which is kind of the requirement that you need to take a job somewhere else if it's the same kind of title or around there. He could be another interesting fit that like if Robert Saleh becomes a head coach, you could realistically see him become a play caller for the Titans if Saleh gets the job.
Yeah, I don't think Robert Saleh would not bring back Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator, right? Like
I don't
that
think
was
so.
That was a swing and a miss.
That was an Aaron Rodgers play.
That was an Aaron Rodgers move. that Robert Saleh had to kind of do. So yeah, I think that's a pro. My last pro for Robert Saleh is the fact that the Jets have been worse after his firing and less competitive than they were with him. So his Jets record, which is bad, doesn't look as bad. That looks like a Jets problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a pro for Robert Saleh and him just having a second opportunity and learning. I think there's a massive benefit to hiring a retread coach, even though that feels gross from my fans of not wanting somebody who's been fired or sucked before. I think there's a big opportunity to learn and to not waste that last opportunity that you could get. So that is my last pro for Robert Saleh. So somebody was like, oh, glazing on Robert Saleh. The pros and cons list starts with pros. And now we get to the cons.
The cons. Here's my big one. And then you look at the whole thing of what you need in a head coach and what you need for this organization. One, I think above all else, the culture needs to be reset. It needs to be built. It needs to be cultivated. Certainly can do that. The next thing on your list is continuing to develop Cam Ward and to continue to get the most out of him, make him your guy. There's probably 5 or 6 guys on the Titans' current head coaching list that I would probably take over Robert Saleh right now to be the guy to say he can get the best out of Cam Ward. Because I think Robert Saleh is so defensively heavy-minded that, like, you're basically, the con of Robert Saleh is you're delegating all of the Cam Ward growth and development from a technique, from a schematic standpoint to your staff. And so that requires you to hit 100% on your offensive staff to get the most out of Cam Ward. You're not going to get anything really with Robert Saleh. And you can also just look at the quarterbacks that he did have during his time with the Jets, whether he was super involved in those decisions or not, whether that was unfairly put on him by ownership, which I think is a conversation that most likely would land in the favor of Robert Saleh. But like, it's not like he really has been around a lot of good quarterback play. It's not because he's contributed to the good quarterback play. So I think that's a huge con for Robert Saleh and would require a lot of work.
And I was going to add on to that same type of con for Robert Saleh. You got to hit on that offensive coordinator, and then you have to retain that offensive coordinator. And then the odds are you're going to have to replace that offensive coordinator. Would this be the best hire for Cam Ward? That is a legitimate question if Robert Saleh is the guy. I like Robert Saleh as a head coach for a football team in the NFL, but where does Cam fit into this? I think he could help Cam as far as Cam's leadership growth, Cam's mentality, Cam's growth as a professional. But what about Cam's growth as a quarterback, which is probably the most important within that? And whenever you hire a defensive-minded head coach with a young quarterback, the risk is you're going to change coordinators at least every 2 to 3 years, either good or bad. Because if it's going well, that coordinator is going to get a head coaching opportunity. If it's not going well, you're going to fire that offensive coordinator to try to find somebody else.
Yeah,
and then
so
there is no middle ground there, right, JT? There is no. The only average middle ground there is if you find an offensive coordinator that has exhausted all of his head coaching opportunities. And I don't know off the top of my head who that would be. Like, can you find the Steve Spagnuolo of offensive coordinators who is like up to date with the current NFL scheme?
Yeah, I was going to say like your option would maybe be like Greg Roman, who is certainly not
he just got fired yesterday.
Exactly. He's not a very positive figure right now in the NFL landscape. Like, that's the kind of example there.
And it's not Cliff Kingsbury.
No.
It's not Mike McDaniel.
No.
It's not Brian Daboll. It's not Matt Nagy. Because, well, I mean, Robert
be
Saleh
Matt
head coach hire could be any of those guys I just listed.
Yep.
But none of those guys have exhausted their head coaching opportunities yet. So if it goes well, you're going to lose Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, who did I mention? Matt Nagy, and somebody else, who are the fourth name I mentioned. So
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. Those guys are going to get a second head coach job. So
yeah, I mean, Z Wildcat says you need to find a Josh McDaniels type, and that's going to be, I mean, maybe down the line, let's say Mike McDaniel goes to like the Browns and flames out in 2 years.
But who's Robert Saleh's first guy? Like that could be Robert Saleh's next.
There it is. Clay Kubiak for 2 years, and then Mike McDaniel crashes and burns, and then he's the
but is Clay Kubiak going to be legit? Like, is Clay Kubiak going to work? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is the biggest con with a defensive-minded head coach and a young quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a veteran quarterback, it can work, right? Like Baker Mayfield is proving that Tampa can just rotate and cycle in and out good and bad offensive coordinators, and as long as Baker's shoulder remains in the socket, he can make it work. But as soon as Baker's shoulder keeps popping in and out, it's not going to work regardless of who the coordinator is.
Absolutely. So, and like, do you have any other cons? Because I think those are like, and maybe we didn't name a lot of cons compared to the pros, but I feel like the cons have a lot more weight than the pros there, which I think kind of evens it out in that way. I will, just to end that type of experiment with Robert Saleh here, the pitch for Robert Saleh is essentially Mike Borgonzi looking at what is going on in Houston with a defensive-minded head coach who can really build a world beater type of defense and say, we're going to have some ups and downs with our offensive coordinator, but we're going to be predicated on defense and hope we can get the best out of our young quarterback and kind of ride that offensively and have our defense also take us the majority of the way. That's the kind of model. If you're going Robert Saleh, you're saying we want to try to do it as effectively as the Houston Texans have done.
And that offense for the Houston Texans.
Exactly, right? Like,
it's not exactly great.
No, I mean, and so
I think that's Bobby Sloak was great, and then Bobby Sloak was sucked, and then now they brought in this new coordinator, and it's not much different.
It's been fine. I will say, like, that game on Sunday or Monday, sorry, there's a lot more on CJ Stroud than I think it was on the offense. But like,
fumbled how many times?
He fumbled 4 times
and threw a pick.
Yes,
I mean.
They still win. So like that's the thing. Cam Ward's fumble problem. Don't worry. We'll be able to mitigate Cam Ward's fumbling problem because we will have such a good defense.
But I agree with you that there's really one massive, heavy con with Robert Saleh, and it is who is developing Cam Ward now, and are you going to be able to hit on that and retain that person as your offensive coordinator moving forward? So, all right. That wraps up pros and cons for Robert Saleh. We'll keep that ongoing and throughout the week and next week.
I do want to say we're obviously at an hour 18 right now, and these shows have been going long. Mm-hmm. I do want to just come back to, because we have yet another John Harbaugh update.
No.
So
seriously?
Yes. So
are we gonna have to scrap trivia?
We'll see if this is an update worthy of talking about here, and maybe the chat will freak out. But in that time of pros and cons, I've done some digging. Some other people who are super into the scheduling and the interviews and whatnot have done some digging. The only person who has seemingly confirmed that the Giants have completed an interview with Raheem Morris is Diana Rossini. The NFL tracker page has not confirmed that. The Giants media, it seems like nobody's confirmed that. But Diana Rossini seems to have been very sure that the Giants have completed an in-person interview with Raheem Morris, which then would mean that, yes, the Giants have satisfied their Rooney Rule. So it's kind of like, do you believe Rossini on that one? Here's the thing. Rappaport and
There's
Ricky.
gray area on this.
Right, and that's the problem here. Like,
did
what are we
you
doing?
Or did you not?
Exactly. That's the problem here. But based on that, and based on Ricky and both Ian Rappaport feeling like they are very sure that the Giants could get a deal done today. Apparently, it feels like maybe that interview has been done and they have satisfied the Rooney Rule, and they could, if they want, just kind of duke it out with John Harbaugh today and get a deal done.
Okay. There's the update. Let's do it.
That's the digging I did. So,
shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. JT, I'm ready to share my screen.
Yes.
To get ready. Don't jump the gun yet because I
won't.
It's always delayed. You can probably try now. Maybe. This is always just such a delay. My computer's terrible. Terrible.
You got to get you a new computer, buddy.
No, it's not. Like, my computer's fine. It's just whenever it tries to share the screen on StreamYard, it's just whatever. I don't know.
Here, I don't know if you missed this news on Monday. If the A to Z chat cares about like our trivia, we got hit with a massive bombshell for trivia on Monday. I don't know if you missed this, but Ann told us she'd be out for 3 months from trivia.
What?
That's what she said.
How does everybody know 3 months ahead of time for something like that?
I don't know. She said she had 3 broken ribs or displaced ribs, and she had a lot of tests coming up, and she said she'll be out for 3 months on trivia.
That's crazy.
That's what she said. So we got to lock in here, like the show. And help
all right.
us out.
We start at NFL. We go around the horn counterclockwise and finish with celebrity mashup. Here we go. NFL. In Dan Marino's final career game, the Dolphins got blown out 62-7 by this AFC team in the divisional round of the playoffs.
Brother, I was not even born. I don't remember.
Esco says Austin's rude. What did I do? I do know this. I do know this. Jaguars. Yes, it was right before the Jags lost the Titans. History. This American inventor co-developed and was the namesake of a device that encodes text characters as standard.
Morse? What's his first name? Well, dots and dashes. That's Morse code. What's his first name? We're looking for
David
the
Morse,
inventor.
Robert Morse, Samuel Morse. Which one of those Morses is?
So just taking a guess here, Samuel sounds like the oldest. So I'd go Samuel.
Game of Thrones, Kit Harington and Stranger Things Charlie Heaton are now part of the cast of this HBO BBC One financial thriller series that has run since 2020. I don't know.
No idea. No, both those actors. Never seen the show.
Yeah, I haven't been up on.
Need some help here, chat. Why did my brain went to Ballers with Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Industry.
Okay.
Show?
Yeah,
sure.
That's correct. Movies. Right. Bruce Willis voiced the inner thoughts of a baby in this 1989 rom-com starring John Travolta and Kirstie Allen. I don't know. This was before I was born.
Not a big 80s rom-com guy here.
Anybody? Look Who's Talking.
Look Who's Talking.
Never heard of it.
Someone said
music. Rihanna won her first VMA for Video of the Year in 2007 for this song featuring Jay-Z. Is this New York?
No, that's not Rihanna. Umbrella. I think Jay-Z's on Umbrella. That feels right.
Love the Way You Lie. No, that's Eminem. Umbrella. Chain restaurants. To compete with other chains, this major fast food chain is now offering a $7.99 meat and 3 box value deal that includes a sandwich, 3 sides, and a drink. I don't know.
That feels like KFC, right? Like, who else would do a meat and 3? Arby's? Maybe. I guess. I am a Arby's hater, so I don't.
Yeah, we're getting Arby's.
Brad, let's do Arby's, I guess.
Okay, college basketball. a starter and contributor to multiple NBA playoff teams. This Oregon forward was a 2017 Pac-12 Player of the Year and led him to the Final Four. This is a Brooks. This is an Aaron Brooks. That's
Aaron Brooks.
No, not Aaron Brooks. There's another Brooks. There's a Brooks.
There's a Dylan Brooks. I know
Dylan,
that.
No. Brooks is the correct last name. I just don't know his first name.
Just put Brooks in, see what happens. Dylan
Brooks?
I know he's an NBA player. I didn't know if he was good or not.
Dylan Brooks?
That's what everyone's saying, Dylan. Let's do it. Okay.
NBA. Aaron Aflalo, Tobias Harris led this 23-win Eastern Conference team in scoring in 2013-14. The Magic.
Sure, man. I was going to say 76ers. Any on that? That's Gosling on the outside.
This kind of looks like Liam Cohen a little bit. Does it not?
It does. That's absolutely right. Gosling on the outside. I put my life on it.
Who's the middle? I know that person. That is Liam Cohen, though. We got to know this. Right? That is absolutely Liam Cohen.
That's funny.
I know that face.
Laura Dern, says Brad.
I don't know who Laura Dern is.
Laura Dern? I think it's Laura Dern. That makes a lot of sense. She's she's in a lot of things.
Boom, we got it. Okay.
All right. Cool.
Hey. That's pretty tough.
That's kind of a tough board. And like the context clues came in big there with Samuel Morse. I mean, no one named David Morse is going to be that old. Samuel
that was the easiest one on the whole board.
Yeah, Samuel was a yeah. Okay. Hey, we did it without our woman correspondent for the celebrity mashup. So hey,
big time. That's
what we do without
we missed our over under by 5 seconds, but that's probably typing situations on me. But all right, guys, that's it for us. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show on the way out the door. More crazy coaching carousel happenings are ongoing all the time. So make sure you stay tuned to our social media. You stay tuned to our website, AtoZSports.com/Titans for everything Easton writes and what Buck's got coming up too on prime time tonight. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Thursday. Appreciate it as always. Thanks.